Hello, welcome to GATEtv, and in the next instalment of Unlocking the Gate, I'm delighted to have former player and current Margate coach Craig Holloway joining me. Craig, how are you? How are you keeping? How's lockdown life treating you overall?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Nothing's really changed apart from obviously the football side of things. I'm continuing to work, but obviously missed the football, and hopefully we'll be back very soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And have you been able to keep in touch with like Bailey and Owen? Obviously, no one's able to train at the moment, but has the contact and communication been maintained?
Yeah, of course. I speak to Bailey quite regularly, and I've a few little texts with Owen, just to see how they're getting on, sort of thing. It's difficult because obviously with goalkeeping, you need to have that constant sort of exercise and repetition to maintain that sharpness. And obviously where you could do some one-on-ones with the older boys. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be difficult for everyone coming back over this long sort of month off. It could take another 2 to 3 weeks to get their sort of format sharpness back.
And I was going to say, having spoken to Jane and Jamie, you guys have been kind of planning for various different scenarios, but as you just alluded to there with goalkeepers, it's a slightly different thing. I think there's going to be a Zoom call tomorrow with the league to decide what's going on. In an ideal world, what would be your sort of scenario for coming back?
In terms of the goalkeepers or the actual general team
I
itself?
suppose a little bit of both, really.
I was speaking from my experience as being a goalie. A month off, you would probably lose, I reckon, 20% of your sharpness. For me, when I used to play, I used to have to physically work hard. If I knew I was in shape, I was mentally right. So it all depends on the individual person, what actually gets them going for games and how they maintain their sharpness.
And will the key for you be able to get on the training pitch with Bailey, with Owen, and then also, I suppose, try and arrange a few friendlies, which I think, regardless of what's happening with the Isthmian League, you'll still be able to do. But at the moment, it looks like we're all just preparing for one FA Trophy game, which seems a bit bizarre.
Yeah, so obviously I think we're back in Thursday night. So it's difficult because you want to get them up to speed quite fast, but you've got to be also careful on the physical side that if you go too hard too early, they could get tired too early, sort of thing. So you just got to bed them in, just getting back to the basics really, and getting a feel of the ball game.
And I didn't realise until recently when we had a chat that you were picked up by Arsenal at the age of 11 and spent all of your youth development there. Can you tell supporters tuned in what that experience was like?
Yes, I was at actually West Ham before Arsenal, and I was at West Ham until I was 10. And what West Ham was doing at the time, they were signing boys and holding back contracts. So if you look back in history, West Ham School of Excellence was shut down for a while because the FA gave you a certain amount of kids that you could sign at a certain age. So what they was trying to do is get all the boys in who obviously had good ability. And obviously I was one of those that they didn't push the contract through. And obviously when it came out in the press and stuff like that, a gentleman called Graham Nichols, who's an Arsenal scout, he found out obviously what was going on, and then literally they rung the FA and I wasn't under contract, and I literally went to Arsenal for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I signed there as a under 11.
Wow. And obviously the Arsenal Academy is held up in such high esteem. For you as a young player, what was that like? Not many people know what that experience is like, to receive that level of professionalism at such a young age. It must have benefited you on the pitch and off of it as well.
Yeah, obviously when I first went in, like I said, I was at under 11s. And to be honest, the first couple of years, I done okay. And then it was sort of around the under 13 time, it just started clicking. But in terms of facilities, even, I was there, what am I now? I'm 36. So you're looking at, I left there 16 years ago. And when you look up the Hale End facilities for now, are just like out of this world. And they get even more than what we got. And we got a lot. So that, the kids are going into those environments now. Obviously, you get looked after well. And facilities are sort of really, really high standard.
And again, not many players who go for an academy break into the senior side, there's absolutely no given. It takes a lot of hard work. But you were one of the few that did then make that progress into the senior side. Was that a big learning curve of your career as well, that step up from youth into men's football?
Yeah, because obviously I was lucky enough to be on the bench. I think it was about 5 times. I think it was 3 in the Worthington Cup then, once in the Premier League and then once in the Champions League. And you know, when you're going into training with these sort of world-class players, and at the time it was Henry, Vieira, and you can actually, you know, see the levels of these players. And for any sort of young player out there who's got aspirations to, you know, go to the top, one thing you've got to do is work hard, because when I've experienced that firsthand, the level of these players is just unreal. So you've got to really, really work hard.
And Arsene Wenger's been doing a lot of professional interviews and stuff recently. He's got a new book out at Christmas, and listening to him and talking exactly about that, about how he kind of changed the cultural shift at Arsenal. What was it like being a part of a squad managed by him, an absolute legend?
Well, do you know what? He was very, very quiet. He never lost his head, should I say. He was very calm in his manner. He was very methodical in his thinking. You know, I think it was the West Brom game. I think we won that 2-1. And he literally came in, didn't say nothing for like 8 minutes. The players settled down, had a few points to say, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, he was very calm, very calm. And obviously, you know, when he was at Arsenal, if you see him, you just give him a nod and say, "All right, boss," sort of thing. Everyone used to call him the boss. But yeah, he was very calm.
I just think that's amazing to have been a part of Arsene Wenger's squad. Obviously, you left Arsenal and then you were elected to move into the conference, and your performances for Farnborough earned you a place within the England C setup. What was that experience like? Because again, not many people can say that they've represented their country.
That was good. Because I think at the time there was me, Sean Jalal, David. I think it was David Stockdale. We played for Fulham in the end. When there was obviously always three goalies that got called up. On one occasion when I got called up, I didn't make the cut. But yeah, no, it was obviously it was good, because at that time I was 19, 20, playing in the conference. So obviously I'd been playing quite well. At that time, I was still sort of full time. So I was, although Farnborough was part time, I was going in to Southend to top up my training.
Okay.
Maintain that sharpness I had obviously at Arsenal, because it's difficult coming from a full time environment to then going part time. You can't maintain that intensity. So obviously I was still living indoors at the time. So I chose to go into Southend, and to be honest, that's how I got my move on loan to Southend from Farnborough halfway through the season, because Southend's goalie got injured. I think he'd done his ACL, and then I went to Southend on loan.
And then your career kind of moved more towards Kent. You played at Gravesend and Northfleet, and then Bromley. What was that kind of chapter like for you in your career?
Do you know what? It was, if I look back now on my career in non-league, and this is probably, you get a bit older. I moved around for quite a few of the clubs. Obviously, I was at Welling for a little bit. Bromley. Who else was in Kent? Obviously, come to Margate. What I found in non-league, and also for my own personal experience, is that you've got to find a club where you actually feel at home.
Yeah.
And obviously, you hear a lot of stories, players will move for £10, £20 and stuff like that. And, you know, I've done that. I'm not going to lie, you know, a bit of extra money. But for me, it's find that right environment where you have that rapport with fans. And obviously have a good goalkeeping coach, which is good. And you build that rapport with a goalkeeping coach as well. But I would say the best, probably the 2 or 3 clubs that I had where I felt I played my best football was probably Margate, and Welling, and also Braintree. And they was very much family orientated clubs. You know, you'd go to the bar and you'd have a drink with all the fans. So yeah, they were the 3 clubs that I always look back and think, you know, I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes it's a bit stereotype that you just alluded to there, that footballers follow money, but actually sometimes having like those values and the environment that you get to play the game in is really important as well. And you mentioned obviously you made the move to Margate. Can you recall how that move came about and the decision-making process that brought you to Hartstown Park?
Yeah, so it was when I was at Welling, we lost to Dartford in the playoff final when they obviously went up to the National League. I spoke to Jamie Day, and literally the money that was offering, it was a sort of a big cut of what I was earning. I wasn't earning great money there either. And then I can't remember how Chris Kinnear got my number. I met Chris Kinnear down at the O2. I think it was in the Sainsbury's Cafe down there, and had a chat and said like his aspirations for the team moving for the year. Told me a few of the boys that he was signing, and agreed a deal, and then I signed.
There we go. Who'd have thought that Sainsbury's would be the deal breaker, the deal clincher, where all the negotiations happen? And like you say, you did play under Chris Kinnear. You became a fan's favourite really quickly. And if it wasn't enough that you had to try and keep as many clean sheets as possible, you became manager. What was that like?
A difficult transition. Chris went to Dover halfway through the season, and there was obviously, I was probably one of the older ones in the squad, and with obviously John Bills, he was the captain at the time, and we spoke to Keith Piper, and I sort of put my head on the line and said, look, until you get someone in, I don't mind taking, the squad on a caretaker basis. And to be honest, after I think it was 5 or 6 games, we had some good performances, and then literally he said, oh, do you want to take it until the end of the season? And then I brought Simon Osborne, who's a good friend of mine, in to help me, because obviously I was still playing then. I could do certain things that while I'm playing, but he could obviously see a lot more on the sidelines. And literally, as I'd walk off at half time, he'd say, Craig, have you seen anything? And I'd tell him, and then he'd literally do all talking in his room, because I was still a player and I couldn't get. I think Dave's mentioned it in our car school. It's hard to get the balance of being a player and a manager. I think you've got to be one or the other now.
Yeah, I'm sure I read an interview with someone the other day. I can't think who it was, but they basically said it's like the most impossible task in the world. It's such a fine line, and you've got so much going on in your head as a player, and then to try and like cope with everything from a manager's point of view. But had coaching been something that you knew you wanted to go into, hence why you went to the chairman and said, look, I'm happy to do this? Was it something that was quite instilled in you?
Yeah, because obviously when I was at Gravesend and Northfleet, I'd done my ACL, so I was out for sort of 18 months. I had 2 operations on my knee, and in that time I'd done my level 2. So I was coaching little kids then, and obviously, when I watch football, I sort of analyse it and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what, I can see things obviously where I see a bigger picture from a goalkeeping position, where we could try and make improvements when Chris left. So I just put my head on the line.
And now, do you still not struggle so much, but obviously with you, Jamie and Jay, your playing careers were so prestigious. You played so much football. Is it hard sometimes to be on the sidelines and you just wish you could put your gloves on and your boots, which you did get roped into doing last season? Is that hard? Is that something you still have to kind of digest and get used to?
I think in my head now, sitting here with you, if I looked after myself a little bit better and had a good pre-season, I probably think I could still play at some sort of level. But I think now it's also that motivation side of it, that you've done it for so long. Now I'm 36. You're gearing up for your next sort of career. You've really got to concentrate on that. And I made that decision, I'm trying to think, when I left Sevenoaks at 33, 34. Just, concentrate on my coaching.
And obviously Jay brought you back into the coaching setup. How are you enjoying being part of the team that he's built and the team that he's building on the pitch as well?
Yeah, it's good. Do you know, it was funny because obviously Margate used to train in Ruton School in the 3G. So I've moved to Borough Green. It was 3 years ago. and I originally texted Steve Brown. Obviously, he was the manager with Mike at the time, and just I said, look, I'm up the road. I can walk to training ground in 3 or 4 minutes. I understand that you haven't got a goalkeeping coach. I don't mind coming in, and he never got back to me. He actually aired my my. And then obviously I knew Jay took over. I played with Jay at Gravesend and Northfleet. And I said to Jay, look, I said, I'm in your village. I said, if you need any goalkeeping stuff sorted, I can probably try and help you out. And obviously I know Jay signed Jonathan Miles. That was part of Jonathan. That he had someone that could put him through some goalkeeping sessions. And me being in the village, it went from there.
And how do you guys get on as a coaching team? Do you all have like little routines and dynamics that help you click?
Do you know what? I think we're very, very similar of age. I've obviously played with Jay before. Kylie's been with Jay before. And to be honest, all three of us, even with Logie, we love our football. We have open discussions. So it's a good, that sort of atmosphere and environment to be, and we bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't just coach within senior football. You do a lot of work outside of Margate within the youth games. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I used to go to a youth club called Sammy Montague Boys Club, which is based in Kidbrooke, South East London. And years ago, it was a thriving sort of community hub. And it was funded by Sammy Montague and Co Bank. And 2011, they got taken over by HSBC. And then moving down the line, HSBC stopped funding it, and it became a charity, and the sort of the youth club died a little bit, and also when the football died years ago, there was some good players that come through the club. Just to name a couple: Kieran Richardson, Tony Craig, Richard Rufus, who was at Charlton. So they had a good reputation years ago. And literally, I was going to set up my own grassroots club, and I knew the facility, and I contacted them, and I spoke to a lady called Michelle, who was basically does a lot of the admin and bookings for the charity now. And she rang me back after our conversation and said, "Oh, the director wants to speak to you." So I had a chat with the director and literally said, "Oh, we want to set up the football side again, and we would like you to come in to have a chat." Went from there, and now I sort of created Sammy Montague Football Club again.
And you say that like quite humbly, but it's grown. I know we've spoken about it before. Like it's grown massively since you took charge. And how have you managed to cope with COVID? Because I think all of us now, we appreciate football a bit differently, don't we? The ability to just go out and play at a grassroots level, it's so important for physical, mental health, particularly for the young players who you provide that for.
Yeah, so obviously the first lockdown, I set up a virtual academy. We set that up on Facebook where only the members could obviously see it. So we set them sort of tasks sort of every other day. There was physical, there was theory. I've done some live fitness sessions and stuff like that. But I was only able to do that because obviously I had 9 weeks off where we were into the full lockdown. This lockdown, if you want to call it a lockdown, I've literally been just working on the foundations and the structure of the club, setting up a club shop, and also we've got an area at the club where we're setting up a calf sort of garden for obviously the football club and the community. So I've been working there a lot of the weekends just to try and get that pushed on.
Yeah, definitely. Football plays such an important role within the community. And let's move on now to some quick fire questions. This is like especially one of my favourite bits of Unlocking the Gate. Who, first of all, was your favourite player growing up?
Peter Schmeichel.
Nice, good choice. And who's the hardest opponent you ever faced in your playing days?
I'll have to think right back now. Do you know what? I'd probably say Dean Ashton.
Okay.
Through in the under-17 national final. We played at we played at Crewe and then we played at Highbury. He was like 6'2", strong, powerful, quick. I remember, I think in the game he hit a shot like, and I think it was the second game at Highbury, and he hit it so quick, it just rattled the crossbar. But you could see from that sort of those games that he was going to go on and play at a good level.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not my quick fire questions, but I have to ask, what was it like in training with like Henri, Bergkamp, and that calibre of player?
I used to do some shooting drills and stuff, and the accuracy and the power they could place the ball, even if you was diving early, you wasn't getting near it. Obviously, I was young then. I was 17, 18, and I was obviously still developing myself. But I can remember Robin van Persie when he came in, and he was doing free kicks, and he was only I think it was a year or two older than me, and he was doing free kicks, and he was just bending them in the top corner, and you're just like, right, I know where he's putting it. I'm now still going to try and dive, and you just got nowhere near it. Like I said earlier, people realise the levels of these world-class players until you actually experience and you look at them and see their athleticism, their technical side. It's massive. It's massive.
So on a similar level to that, then, who's the best player that you've played with that you've had as a teammate?
I'd go back to my Arsenal days because we had a good team. I think there was about probably 5 that actually played in the Premier League from our FA Youth Cup winning team. Do you know what I'm going to say? Just for the point of City wasn't a skillful player, but he was very honest in what he done, very hard working. And to be honest, he knew his position. He was very, very good at doing the basics of his position. I used to do extra training and stuff like that. And obviously, he got a good career in the Premier League, playing at Aston Villa, Chelsea, and stuff like that.
Okay, and then a slightly simple question: would you rather a 5-0 drubbing of a team or a last-minute winner over a team?
How are you saying that to me, as a player or as a coach?
I suppose I should ask in your coaching capacity now at Margate. What would you rather?
I would probably say 5-0 as a coach, because you can relax, you can enjoy the game. And obviously, if you're winning at 5-0, you could be entertained.
And I know you're into your music, so are there any songs that you have to listen to on a game day, even now as a coach, where it is slightly different?
To be honest, obviously the boys in the change room put their own music on. So sometimes I've chucked mine on and I'll get booed off. Try to do that sometimes just to get the banter flowing for the boys, because I think we've got a real mix of personalities. We're very young as a squad. We've got some older ones, but yeah, I'll just let them do it. Logie's got some awful music.
I've heard. Yeah, not up your street.
Yeah, no, he's got some poor music, to be fair, Logie. And even when he drives, he sits back and he's a proper low rider and stuff like that. So you might have to go to the ground one day.
And if you had to describe your managerial and coaching style in 3 words, what 3 would they be?
Enthusiastic, honest, and hardworking.
A good 3 there. And if you could have one player from any other team in the Isthmian League that you could bring into Margate, into the squad, which players caught your eye that you think would slot in really nicely?
We spoke about this lad last year, and he's done well again. And he's a local lad, and that's probably Joe Taylor.
Same answer as Jay. I have to put that little 7-dayer in. Yeah, he's a great player. And this question again is one of my favourites. If you had to isolate with one of the boys in the squad, who would you pick? And on the other end of the scale, if there was one player who under no circumstance would you be able to spend the 14 days isolation with, who would it be?
So if I had to isolate with someone, it would probably, it's definitely not Bailey, because he's got no personality.
Oh, Bailey. Right, okay, so you've ruled Bailey out.
Actually, get on quite well with Seth.
Okay.
Bit of banter me and Seth. So I'll probably isolate with Seth. And definitely not. Probably no Leighton.
Poor Noel, it's been a clean sweep across the management team. No one wants to isolate with Noel. Okay, and then on a more kind of football and technical note, if you could change one law of the game, what would it be?
Oh, that is difficult.
I'm sure there's a few, but just one.
You know what? If I think back to the way the game started, and when the defender passes the ball back to you can pick it up, because I never experienced that.
Really?
A lot easier.
Right.
A lot easier than dealing with the ball at your feet.
Okay, so that's your one rule change. And then the final question from me, which of the 4 Margate kits is your favourite?
Who for?
Pardon?
Who 4 kits?
Yeah, so you know the 4 new kits that we're hopefully going to be wearing when football comes back in December. Which is your favourite?
I will say the pink away one, because I'm going to order one for my daughter back.
Okay, good choice. What did you make of the goalkeeper ones? Would they lure you out of retirement, or no, not good enough?
No, they're all, the thing now, kits have moved on massively over the years.
Yeah.
And for me, it was when I used to play, it wasn't how I looked, it was what I felt comfortable in. Obviously, I think they're short sleeve, aren't they, for the goalkeepers?
Yeah, and also didn't last season you get to wear the orange one? Because that was really popular, and that was very different for a goalkeeper shirt.
Joe wore the orange one last year. I think when I played, I wore the yellow. And to be honest, the orange one, I probably wouldn't even fit in it.
Oh, well, there we go. Thank you so much, Craig, for giving up your time. And fingers crossed, we'll be at Hartstown Park at some stage in the not so distant future. But it was good to get the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. And yeah, like I said, fingers crossed that FA Trophy game will happen and we'll have a little bit of football.
12th, is it the 12th?
Oh, I think a lot is to be decided. But we will wait and see. And in the meantime, on GATEtv, we will bring you some more content to keep you entertained during lockdown. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you can be the first to know when our content goes live. Until then, though, do take good care